Okay, everyone in. Okay, hello everyone and welcome to today's session, our very first interview forming part of our webinar series, How Not to Drive Your Business to Zero but Actually Set Yourself Up to Thrive in the Aftermath. I'd like to introduce our host, Daniel Watson, Director at Vertec IT Services, and our guest, JP Hale, Business Risk Specialist, Personal and Business Life Insurance. Before I hand over, just a few important notes. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on our blog, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Should you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and we will go through them at the end. Okay, and you can click it at the bottom of this page. Now over to you, Daniel.
Great stuff. Thank you, Bianca. All right. Hey, so one of the reasons why I set up this webinar series is because at our recent BNI meeting with JP and I, we attend, I noticed there was a lot of conversation about the various aspects of business which have been impacted now and how people can actually make the best of it, or at least make sure they don't crash and burn. Now, JP has been an awesome resource for us in our group in the past, and I thought it'd be fantastic if I'd get him. And JP, you're very active out in social media. You're a bit of an inspiration in that respect for me doing some of these things. So I thought you'd be absolutely perfect to get in on this kind of thing, because there's probably some real good rich nuggets of gold that you can hand over to people.
Awesome.
So yeah.
I think just to touch on the social media piece at the moment, I've been sitting across the developing issue of COVID around the world since January, and the social piece is a hell of a lot of conspiracy theories and misinformation out there, and it's been difficult to dig through what that actually looks like for a lot of people. I think one of the core messages we can take from what we're seeing is every country has looked at every other country in disbelief and ignored the evidence. And I think that speaks hugely to what we need to be doing with our own businesses, in terms of, let's not have that learning happen to us. Let's look outside and take on the learning of others. As tough as those pictures might look, there's an awful lot of truth to what is happening in other areas around the world that we can learn from and respond to and prevent ourselves from having the same experience. So I think for me, that's probably the theme of where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the countries that are going to do well out of this are the people who actually figure out what's everybody else is doing well or is doing wrong and take the lessons from it, right? Now, I've got a few standard questions which I'm going to ask everybody on this webinar series, and the first one really is what's the biggest mistake a business owner is making, or is probably already made right now, with respect to their insurances?
Reacting without thinking. That's probably the key thing. A lot of the initial calls, I've had 3 weeks of inbound calls from clients and people who are concerned, people who are going, hey, I can't get hold of my usual people, can you help me? So it's been a tidal wave of stuff that's come in. And the most consistent thing I've seen that has been happening that really shouldn't be is this, hey, my income is getting tossed around, it's getting pressured. Can I remove some of this stuff, or I want to remove some of the stuff so I can reduce the cash flow? Well, in a crisis, you don't take your emergency kit and throw it overboard. But that's effectively what these people have been doing when it comes to their insurance, because they're going, well, my insurance isn't going to respond, I'm fit and well and healthy, so hey, this is something I don't need. But that is ignoring what's going on overseas. So that's the probably the key one with what's going on here. So, yeah.
No, fair enough.
Risk management.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a fatal error.
Yeah.
So what actions can I take as a business owner right now to set us up for protecting ourselves in the future?
So I think the big one, and this comes directly back to essentially what you do with Vertec, and that is, as a business owner, the best thing you can do is look around your business right now and go, how do we build resilience into what we do? And 90% of that is going to be a technology-based answer. So just for some context for people here, I trained as an electronics engineer. I spent 10 years in IT before I ended up in financial services. So I've got a deep understanding of the implications of technology into business. And we are finding everybody is discovering Zoom rather quickly. So this is a technology I've been using for 3 or 4 years. But as a business owner, there's this, oh, we've got to do stuff in person. We have to do stuff in person. Well, we're going to have to start asking the question, do we need to do this stuff in person? And do we need to travel? So there's huge opportunities for business to reduce operating costs and improve operating efficiency. If you've got somebody on the ground who's running around from site to site, every time they travel, that's lost productivity.
Time. Yep.
So the more you can do in a digital environment, the more productive you're going to be. And look, I get it. There's going to be people who go, look, I don't want to engage in that. I actually like the face-to-face piece. Well, this is fine. Engage with those people face-to-face. But for those that are happy to engage digitally, go that way. And I guess this is playing on some of the fear, or what we call FUD: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So the FUD factor. So there's going to be a lot of people who will play on the FUD factor and will automatically prefer to go down some of the digital means. Here's your opportunity to take advantage of that and build that resilience into your business. Now,
cool. I've been finding that with the Zoom thing. I started using it primarily to, I had the problem of I was trying to get around 4 or 5 client sites in a day to catch up and do meetings. Well, if I just try, and it was impossible, really, 2 or 3 maybe in Auckland traffic. Right now, I could do it if I just ignored the restrictions. Because you can get anywhere in Auckland in 30 minutes now. But it was great having Zoom to just stack up those meetings. You can go from one to the other to the other. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, in some ways, this crisis has proven just how non-essential travel is. If at the end of the day, only essential travel is required. Yeah. And look, I jest because clearly we've got a massive economic impact off the back of this in terms of lost productivity for a lot of businesses, because people don't live their lives inside their houses. They live their lives inside their communities and society. So, yeah, there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek jest, but it's how do we expand what we do by more efficiently and more effectively using the resources we have. That's probably the big one.
Good. Now, there are going to be people out there who are thinking, I've got some insurance right now. When is it actually going to start working for me during this crisis?
Okay. Yeah, that's been a big one, and I think that's been part of the driver for the calls to say, hey, I need to get rid of this, because they're looking at it going, I'm fit and healthy, I'm going to be fine, I don't really need this, let's push it off. And to a degree, that's correct for the general insurance piece. So just to give some explanation, general insurance is your house, car, contents, business interruption, liability covers, those types of insurance. They're not specifically insuring a person, they're insuring stuff or liability or some form of risk, okay? As opposed to life insurance products, which are about insuring an individual for stuff happening to that individual. And so when we look at the general insurance piece, which is the business interruption piece, which is a lot of people have been calling brokers and going, hey, what's the story with this? the government said I can't use my building, my business has stopped, how's my insurance going to respond? For the vast majority, there hasn't been a response. And that will create a hugely negative attitude towards their insurance. That I understand. That came about after SARS back in 2001, where the insurance world said, well, we can't actually quantify what this risk is. We can't price the risk. So therefore, what we're going to do is we're going to exclude the risk. And so the majority of policies out there today have an infectious diseases exclusion, which includes epidemics, pandemics, and endemic diseases that affect businesses on a community scale, when the infection is on a community scale. And so that's going to create a whole lot of angst for people. And because there's an exclusion on the general side, there's automatically an assumption that there's an exclusion on the life side. Now that's not necessarily correct. Now,
I see.
But let's stay with the general insurance piece at the moment, because that's the piece most business owners are familiar with. So if you've got a good risk advisor operating in this space, now I don't operate in this space directly. I have a specialist that I work with who does the advice and product selection piece on the business and insurance, business interruption side. But if you've got a good advisor in this space, they will be assessing and discussing the risks with you as they go. So for example, a childcare centre, the infectious disease exclusion on a business interruption policy is front and centre for something like a childcare centre, because they're exposed to these sort of risks all the time. Okay. And so your standard policy may not cover infectious diseases, but there are extensions you can add into your policy that a good broker would be discussing and offering for you. And so that would then enable these businesses to have a response from their insurance. So places like childcare centres who have taken that particular cover on, their business interruption insurance is actually working for them.
Right. Okay. All right.
Now, if we step back from that piece, because that's front and centre for something like a childcare centre, to a business like mine or yours, the infectious disease risk is not nearly as present. And so for a lot of business owners, they'll go, yeah, we haven't had one in 100 years. We won't bother. And so an awful lot of people will have had this option presented to them, but they failed to take it on.
Okay. Right.
And so that's the rub, and that's with a good broker. Now, with a average broker who's just peddling policies, and there are plenty of those out there too, they may not have been presented with this option.
I've actually got a little story on that one myself, because a couple of years ago, well, 3 years ago, I got offered the officers and executive cover for our business theft insurance. And at the time, I discussed it with the office manager, and she said, "Oh, look, I don't think we really need the extra cost." And I went, "Oh, all right, fair enough." Now, just recently, she was found guilty on 35 charges of fraud, and I really do wish we had that insurance.
Yeah. And that also comes back to the piece that we often see. So there's been plenty of surveys done about where do people get their advice from, and they go and get it from friends and family.
Yeah.
Now the problem with friends and family is they actually don't know this stuff.
No, it's that Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
If they know a little bit, they think they know all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happens is we get this, and I see it all the time. Hey, here's how it works. These are the options available to us. We can do this and this. We can't do that. Right. And they want to go and talk to mum, their uncle, their cousin, because in life they've given them good advice. But those people don't have that specific detail around this, and that's where and I appreciate the perception of life insurance salespeople somewhere with used car salesmen. I've got that. But that's where the industry is working very hard to change that view. And so a good advisor is going to give you the information you need. And from my perspective, a way to pick up a good advisor over a poor one is ask questions. If they don't like the questions, they're not prepared to give you a reasonable answer or go and look for the answers for you.
Yeah.
You've got to start asking the question, is that somebody I want to be dealing with?
Quite. Very good.
As opposed to, look, I have my challenges with people who go, yeah, hang on, you've given me too much information. I can't contend with that as well. So there is a fine line, and it is horses for courses. But the biggest thing people can do in terms of the advice they receive is ask better questions and ask more of them.
Yeah,
because a professional is going to be happy to answer them.
Yep, there are no dumb questions.
Correct.
Yep, just dumb people who don't ask questions. So, okay, if I was looking around for cover now, what am I going to be disappointed with because you just can't get it?
Okay, so in the last month or so, we've had a couple of insurers signal that they were looking to make changes to products in the market, and COVID has accelerated some of that change substantially. So if we go back 2 weeks before Jacinda announced, 3 weeks before Jacinda announced the level 3 and then level 4 lockdown on that Monday, I'd sort of looked around at what was going on and went, okay, we're probably going to lose redundancy cover as an option within 2 weeks. The first insurer moved the Monday after that 2 weeks sort of expired.
Right.
And so for us, that is pretty significant change. Usually they would signal a change with a month to 3 month notice period.
Yeah.
This insurer literally said, as of today, we're not accepting redundancy applications. The day after that, another insurer said the same thing. 2 days later, another insurer, and by Friday, all of them had removed it from the market.
Right.
So in 5 days, we had complete removal from the market. Now, the other thing with that is, at the time the first insurer moved, anything that was in pipeline was still okay for processing. If you'd got it in, you were okay, which is the normal sort of thing we've been used to. And so an insurer says, hey, look, we're going to change our stance on this. We're going to, let's say, increase premiums, or we're going to remove a benefit. These more minor changes allow the existing covers that have been applied for to flow through under the old terms and conditions, and then anything submitted after a specific date, the new terms and conditions applied for. So come Monday, when Jacinda announced level 3, most of our insurers turned around and said, right, these benefits, particularly income protection, we're not offering anymore, and anything that's in pipeline is not going to be completed. So even the stuff that we'd got into pipeline was now in a position where we can't complete it, which creates all manner of issues with people who have an expectation they're going to get covered.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, it's been pretty dramatic, and for the guys, I've had 3 or 4 people who we were looking to place redundancy cover.
Yeah.
Couple of them we got in under the wire because we saw it coming. We really moved on it. A couple weren't so quick, and we bounced around a couple of insurers trying to secure that. Unfortunately, the insurer closed the door on it before we could get it issued, which is just, yeah. So we've been working pretty hard to get stuff done. It's just sometimes, yeah, things get worried.
When I'm going around visiting clients, a lot of SMBs, they rely, like the business owners rely on like a few really key people. And it just occurred to me now that potentially, you know, businesses might be letting themselves in for a bit of a hard fall if they haven't had some kind of key person insurance taken out on those employees, because literally if they got hit by a bus, you'd be in for like, well, what do you do now? That guy knows all of the processes, and I'm going to have to hire possibly 2 or 3 people just to kind of delegate that stuff out.
Yeah, and this is a common issue with small business in New Zealand. 97% of New Zealand businesses are under 20 employees. And they also employ 2/3 of the working population. And so there's a massive hole and a massive risk of key person impact. Now, the interesting thing with insurance, the more people we have insured, the wider the risk gets spread, the lower the premiums everybody pays. And so, but there's a natural balance to that, in that those that see risk tend to buy insurance, those that don't see risk don't buy it. And thus the premium is actually, the premium we see today is actually higher than it probably needs to be because we don't have enough people insured.
Right, okay.
And the key person risk is one that I have talked about for many years. Having been in IT myself, in the 90s, we were a project management company. We designed and built dairy factories. I was running the information systems, and we were effectively paperless under an ISO 9000 system. And there were two guys in the company who understood the information systems.
Mm.
Yeah. The two of us should have been insured. We weren't, because the loss of one of us would have been massive. And that goes for a lot of small businesses where there's some key knowledge in terms of the product and service that the business sells and makes.
Yeah.
Key knowledge around how the business operates in terms of its internal systems, but also too, key knowledge in terms of connections and contacts, both on the supply and on the client and sales side as well. And then you've got management. So you've got four key areas in most businesses that actually need application of key man insurance cover, because there's going to be a massive financial impact if one of them is taken out.
Sorry, just to interject. There was one of our clients. They told me this is quite sad, like, because a lot of this is quite the impact of COVID-19 is kind of, it's removed from us as people. But there was one of our clients, their operations manager had to return home to China because his father had died of COVID-19, and he's basically, that's where he's at. He's not coming back. He'd be stuck there and unavailable to the business regardless. And so that happened back in February, is when he had to move. I'm just guessing, but would key person insurance cover that kind of situation where the person's been taken out by once removed?
Not so much. So that situation in itself is difficult to insure at the best of times. It's more about something happening to that individual where they are removed from the business and inaccessible, particularly from a knowledge base. We can't cover off the employment issue, they resigned or they left the business or retired. That's something that comes back to your business continuity planning, so your BCP planning. It's more a case of, and all of this ties in with BCP, which is something I loosely talk about with people as well as health and safety risk. So there's quite a spectrum of stuff that we do cover. But in the key person space, what is mostly looked at is the business owner.
Yeah.
The other three areas are often ignored by most businesses, because there's a view, I can hire that in, I can replace them. Yeah, you can, but what is the opportunity cost in terms of the time it takes to find them and get them up to speed for the person that was replaced?
Yeah,
and so so that's a BCP allows you to manage this and move it over time.
Whereas, and it's more than just your IT servers and processes and that kind of stuff. You need to widen the net on that significantly. Now, JP, I'm just thinking about time-wise. We've got to be cognizant of that.
So one last thing on that though is with the BCP, the key person insurance, that responds to the immediate sudden shock of losing somebody. That's probably the key difference. Somebody leaving after a employment perspective is less of a risk than somebody who has been diagnosed with cancer and now is no longer available. So yeah. In terms of coverage that we can do, the likes of life, trauma, and medical covers, we can still get access to those things.
Right. Yeah.
We can still get access to income protection at a limited level. What we're experiencing at the moment is a company saying, yes, we're open for business, but once we get into it, we're finding the underwriters are being pretty tough on terms and conditions unless that person is an essential service and is effectively working in their normal occupation and role. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's getting down to the nitty-gritty, which is why you use a insurance broker rather than trying to do it online. Bianca,
Absolutely.
is there any questions from the floor? We'll just move into the Q&A side of this. We're at 28 past, and we've I think I was being a bit optimistic by saying this would probably only go on for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
we'll take that as a lesson for the next one.
With me, 15 minutes is hugely optimistic.
Just barely get through the intro. Yes, Bianca, do you have anything from us from questions?
Yes, I have a question. What is your opinion on the strength of our insurance industry? And we are very reliant on foreign underwriters. Are we in New Zealand protected from their collapse?
So on the bulk of it, our key insurers are actually pretty stable. So from a capital point of view, they are pretty good. What have we got there? It's a mouse.
That's my sister. That's what she does.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So the reinsurance risk is something that we do need to be concerned about. However, the industry having widespread infectious disease exclusions means that the insurance industry is not as at risk as people might think. There is more risk to the banking industry overseas than there is to the insurance industry.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, was there any other questions that people might have? If you can type them into the chat channel now, then we can raise that. Otherwise, yeah, that was excellent. Thank you, JP. If anybody needs to get hold of you and ask you, private questions like, how do I get work from a beach like you are, then how do they get hold of you?
Yeah, more the merrier. To be fair, the easiest place to get hold of me is the website. So willowgrove.co.nz will find me. As far as phone, happy to chat on the phone, but the way the phone's been ringing, that's become problematic in terms of trying to get return calls for people as well.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get hold of you before this. I couldn't get you.
Yeah, yeah, and that was just bouncing around phone calls, which is hugely challenging. So I finally had a chat with one of our clients who's been wanting me to give him a yell. Finally had a chat to him today. We've been playing phone tag for 2 weeks. Just because of the challenges with phone. So email is probably the best place to start, and then we can pick things up from there.
Awesome. Cheers, JP. I really appreciate the time that you've taken today to talk with us. I hope things go easier for the next couple of weeks.
It'll calm down as people settle into lockdown and their routines calm down. It is starting to settle. The first week or so was very frantic.
I think it was for everybody, but we're all finding our pace now. Awesome. Yeah. Alrighty, thank you everybody for coming along. We'll be posting out this link as a download. We'll probably do it through YouTube or something like that, and putting it out on the social media, and as well as the links to the next one in the series, which, if I recall correctly, I can't recall correctly. Bianca, help. Oh, she's muted herself. Anyway.
Hold on.
She's run away.
Yes. There we go. What was it?
Okay, hold on. I will be announcing later in a short while, because I've just had confirmation for tomorrow's interview.
Oh, it's tomorrow, is it? Okay.
No, sorry, Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
Yes, Thursday at 11, we're going to have Daniel Silva.
Daniel Silva. Oh, he's here online.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll see.
So confirmation just in time.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Cheers, Daniel.
Cheers.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Awesome.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks,
right.
Dan.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.